Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Sugar Mama's Fireplay podcast. I am financial planner Canna Campbell. So, the other day on Instagram, I received a DM from a lady named Michelle, and she wrote in her message to me, I have managed to save over $350,000 just over 8 years working part time as a single mum. Now, as soon as I read this, my eyes almost popped out of my head, and I was like, okay, tell me more. Like, how did you do this? And her message went on, and she explained to me exactly what she did, how and why, and how the hard work and the sacrifices and every dollar counted along the way. So, very, very kindly, Michelle from Melbourne has agreed to share with us her story about where it all began, what she did, how she stayed focused, and how it actually added up and her dream and goal became her reality. This is Sugar Mama's Fireplay. Michelle, thank you so much. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks. I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
I am so excited because recently I've been publishing quite a few podcasts around financial abuse, and particularly the common trend is obviously the woman ends up being left high and dry and really disadvantages and is obviously subject to not just financial abuse but domestic violence and psychological abuse. So this is so nice to be able to share a story of a single mother who has thrived. You must be an amazing role model to your son, and it's so great to be able to have the opportunity to inspire and motivate and empower other single mothers that might be doing it tough right now. So I'm excited to get your story out there. Can you explain to me where this all begun? Like, did you just wake up one day and go, I'm going to save $350,000? Like, where was it born?
I think this has always been ingrained in me to be a saver, and to try to, think of the future. One of the things was my dad was actually, it was 10 years ago, my dad was actually told that he was terminally ill out of nowhere, biggest shock, and he said
Oh,
to me, can you please go take out, because he was actually, while he was sick, he was still getting paid for his employment for sick leave. And he goes, can you please go to the bank for me? And I was like, yep, no worries. Just write down how you want me to take it out. And he goes, okay, go to the bank and take out $200 from here, $500 from here. And I was like, what? Like, why? And he said to me, like, basically, I have one account for all the loans, one account for holidays, one account for spending and savings. And I said to him, well, why do you do that for? He goes, because I want to save for a holiday. So we got to go every single year on a holiday overseas while we were growing up. He obviously had an investment property, so he had a loan for that, and money for spending and doing things like going to restaurants. And he broke his pay into different accounts so that he wouldn't spend money like from whatever was left over. He always had that savings, and he used to say like we don't want to go out and get food from here and food from here, like waste money. You want to use it for value. So spend time with your family on the weekend and go out for dinner. So that's what the foundation where I learned how to save money for, and spend time with things that have value in my life.
so it sounds like he was very mindful with money, really respected the flow of it, how long it takes to earn it and how quickly it takes to spend it, and making sure that it goes for something that's of great value to not just for him but also for more importantly for his family, which obviously included you. So you got to like peek inside his finances, which probably ended up being an amazing lesson.
Yeah. And at the time, I think growing up, at the time being 5 years old, you'd be like, oh, why is he being so tight with his money? But then again, we went overseas, and when we went overseas, we could spend whatever we wanted. We could,
Wow.
go out to eat every single day. And I think that that's something that I try to ingrain to my son now. So, for example, one of the things I do is for lunch, like I won't buy my lunch, I will pack my lunch. And people at work sometimes say to me, don't you get sick of what you eat? I'm like, no, I love it. I get to eat wholesome food that's good for me, and it makes me feel well, and I'm saving money so that like for example, we just went on a holiday. We got to go on a holiday for 1 week where we got to spend money like crazy. We stayed at a beautiful actually, when we got back from holidays, we stayed for a treat for a couple of days that cost, we spent $600. And I could do that with him as a single parent because I don't eat out every single day. I don't buy coffee every single day. And I don't sacrifice these things to my, well, I don't think I don't sacrifice it because I buy quality products for home. So, for example, instead of buying coffee, which I used to buy over 10 years ago every single day, I one day calculated actually. I calculated how much money I would save by not getting coffee 6 days a week. And I bought myself a coffee. What I thought was a part of the coffee that I love is actually having the top of coffee frother for $100. And that paid itself off because I don't buy coffee. I buy one a week out just for socialization. But I don't feel like I'm depriving myself because I bought that coffee frother, which I have every single day and I look forward to. And I'm getting the best of both worlds because that paid off within, like, it cost me $100. It paid itself off. And I haven't bought a coffee every single day for the last 10 years.
And the beautiful thing is, doing that actually makes you appreciate that and enjoy buying a coffee when you choose to, and if you choose to. It's really important. It's really interesting what you say about your father, because I grew up in a family that was very respectful of the flow of money and managed money in a responsible way. And we would only go out to a restaurant for dinner on a special occasion. So it would be Mother's Day or my birthday or my brother's birthday or, a family member's birthday. It was a special occasion thing. But when I think about it, the world that we live in now, we kind of just go to cafes and restaurants not even thinking about it. It's no longer a special sacred moment, or it just, we kind of have spoiled ourselves, and we've kind of disconnected with how special those things are, like too much of a good thing potentially. Now, can you talk to me through this $350,000? Like, that's a huge, huge amount of money to save for anyone, let alone someone working part-time and a single mom.
Yeah. Look, I don't even know sometimes how I do it myself. This all happened. You know what? I actually did this when I was younger. I got married when I was in my early 20s, and I used to work. I was studying at uni, and I used to work 2 days a week. And I saved up. I had a big wedding. It cost over $70,000. I don't
Wow.
regret at the time because I was in my early 20s. I didn't regret it because it was a great party, but I saved my money myself. And at the end of it, I paid for my half of, like, our family, which was the probably around $30,000 I paid for in cash. And I had 20, I remember I had $25,000 left over. So I bought myself a car that was new, and I had $5,000 left over. And my dad actually said to me, how did you do it? I work 2 days a week. And I'm like, I don't even know how to either. But when there's a will, there's a way. And I think one thing I've learned is that I have really good, one thing actually I could, if I look back on, is I've got resilience and stubbornness. So if I want something, I'll make it work. And I think that's one thing. Like, I'm a teacher and I actually teach my students. Like, one of my jobs that I've got is that being a teacher. And I actually tell them that, it doesn't matter what knowledge you have sometimes. It's if you have the resilience and the passion and you want to reach a goal, you'll reach it. So I think
I
that's the key
completely
thing.
agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been the key thing. So, when I did save this 350, and all, obviously, like, growing up, I was in a position where I didn't have to pay for rent. I was able to get a property from my family to stay in that I didn't have to pay for that while I was studying. I still put money aside as I were to pay rent. I That's what I've grown up with. Like, I would put 90% of my pay away and live off that 10%.
How did you live on 10%? Like, that's
I would make it work. I didn't even know. I'd make it work. And what I do is, like, I would work when I was, like, working part time, even working retail. I would take shifts that have, like, bonus for being a manager for the day, and I'd live off their bonuses. And that's what I still do now. So now, like, for example, last term, I did extra work, and that extra work I don't look at to go, I would put it towards a holiday. I put it towards a goal. So I tend to do that now even. So every single few weeks I actually do I do two jobs. So in one of my jobs I actually make extra money, and I put that towards something that is a goal that isn't wasted money, because I'm not big on wasting money. So what I normally do is in my diary at the back, I have a list of all these things that I'd love to buy, like makeup. And I love to buy special hair care, not just, high end stuff. So what I do is when I get that extra money, I will put half of that extra pay into a goal for a holiday, and I put half of the extra for a spending, for a splurge. And I'm not just going to splurge it on rubbish. I'm not going to splurge it on cocktails because it's not what I want. I'll splurge it on a makeup, something that has quality that I can give myself as a reward that will last.
Yeah. That's what you value.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So essentially, you're working smarter, not harder, by working very, very efficiently and strategically working out your hours so that when you do work, you're earning more because you're capitalizing on a manager's rate, hourly rate, and maybe like, for example, working on a public holiday or a weekend where there's, time and a half or double time potentially. And then proactively transferring that money the moment you get paid into your separate accounts, which is one for a holiday, one for a lifestyle splurge, so that then allows a really great sense of balance.
Yeah. And I calculate this budget prior to getting paid. I think that's the key thing that I've always had.
Yes, you've got to. That's the thing. People think budgets are the when you write down what you spent. I'm like, no, the horse is already bolted. Like that's just basically rubbing your face where you've blown your money.
Yeah.
I always say a budget is just simply giving your future expenses boundaries.
Yeah. I always look at like always maybe a month prior, and I look again, like I'll write it a roughly month prior because I know what I'm going to be getting for pay. And I'll put this extra money I put it under the heading bonus, and I separate that into 3 sections. And then I review that the week before, just in case there's give and take. And then I don't know about you, but like I love it. I take a cup of tea, I sit down with my budget, and there's nothing better because it's looking at where I can spend that money, where I can save. And I'll put there miscellaneous for that little reward that I'm going to treat myself, because I say to myself, you have been doing all. And I that's how I tend to work. Like I know that people work in different ways. I've always worked on rewards. So if I say to myself, if you work hard, you're going to get this reward, I will work hard. So recently I had a goal to pay something off, and I said to myself, what is something that I would not want, what I normally wouldn't buy? And I bought myself a Dyson hairdryer, which I would never normally think of getting, but I put it aside. I bought it on sale, so I got $100 off. I put it on sale, and I put it underneath my bed, and I said to myself, when I reach that goal, I can have it. And my best friend said to me, what? It's been 6 weeks. You haven't opened it from the plastic? I said, no. When I reach that goal, I will open it. And I worked extra hard because I wanted it. And when I reached that goal, I think maybe like 5 days before, I opened it from the plastic. Because I knew I was going to get paid. I knew the money was coming. And as soon as that money hit that account and I got the message to say, congratulations, you paid that off, I opened it. And there was this satisfaction that, yeah, like I worked hard for it. So I deserved it. And that was now I need to get another goal.
I have exactly the same. It's funny. I put this reel up on my lifestyle account, Canna Campbell Official, and it's for me, I reward myself with a handbag if and only if I achieve these big goals. And what happened was this handbag was my goal, was the last one left in the color that I wanted. And then at the same time, the special cash rewards offer came back where I'd get, like, instead of getting 5% cash back, I think it was like 15%. So I bought it using the sale and the fact it was the last one left. And I got it home and I had to put it in my wardrobe in the box. I opened it up just to check it was the right, there was no damage to it. It was the white one that I wanted. But then I had to put it back in the box. And I think it sat there for 6 months almost because I hadn't achieved the goal yet. I wasn't allowing myself to use that yet because I wasn't worthy of it yet. But when I did, oh my gosh, I was so excited. And I literally tried it on with all these different outfits. And I look at that bag with so much, I guess, confidence and pride and satisfaction. And yeah, that's so important to make sure that you don't reward yourself until that goal's been ticked off.
Yeah. And it gives things meaning in life. Like you'll have this item at least for the next, 10 years, and you'll value it. And I think that makes you, like, I'm the type of person who would rather buy that product that has a lot of value than to, buy 100 other things, hair dryers that aren't going to do the same thing. And I think, yeah, when you're saving money, you need to give yourself this satisfaction of having something, because then it's really hard to reach goals.
Yeah. Coming back to that $350,000, did you just go, okay, my goal is 350, or did you give yourself a deadline, or did it just kind of organically happen where you're like, oh wow, the count's getting higher and higher and higher? Like, how did you approach that $350,000?
I just said to myself, okay, this is where I'm staying. This is how much rent would be, and save that money. Just keep saving and just save as much as you can, because every time I want something, I look at myself and go, do you really need it? Do you really want it? Let's save it for the future. And I just save, 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 save. And then at the time, we were putting something into a development, a family development. So I invested that money in it. And then, yeah, so it was more for that. There wasn't actually, I did want to get a home. I didn't know what home. I didn't know. There was not much of a goal in sight, but I knew I wanted a home. So that was where I just thought, save, save, save. Obviously going to save for the future because you're working hard.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's when that happened.
So it was literally that $350,000 you saved over 8 years was just simply head down, bum up, and hustle, work, save, budget, and then have balance. And that's how, wow.
And then I invested that. We invested and we built. And then there was a property that I was able to have out of that. And then from there, I thought, I want to get an investment property, another investment property.
Another one.
Have. So this actually was just like in a matter of one day, yeah, you know what, I want to get investment property, and not even thinking, had I believe I had $70,000 of savings left. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to call the bank and see, let's just try my luck. So I called the bank and they said, you've been approved for a small amount, and it was enough for me to get an investment property. So I started looking, and within 3 weeks, being the impatient person that I am, I found something and was like, let's just do an online look at it. So I looked at it actually over Zoom, and it was during COVID times. So and I actually put a amount in,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, look, we'll ask the people because they've moved. They've actually bought a property, so they are looking for someone. It'd been on the market for maybe 4 days. And she goes, we'll get back to you tomorrow morning. And the next morning, she's like, they love the offer. They'll take it. And I said,
Wow.
great. I'll get it. And that was 3 weeks.
So the 350,000 you put into the family development as an investment, and then you had $70,000 set aside, and you then bought another investment property.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And how did you pick that investment property? How did you know that was the right one? Like, how did you do your research? How did it all come together?
I just looked at areas that I could afford that I thought was going to be booming over time. That was it was a location where I wasn't planning to live. I was going to use it as an investment, so it was okay. I was looking for a home. I didn't want to pay strata and all that type of extras on top. It ticked all my boxes. And so I just, you know what, I went with my gut, and I knew that I was actually going to go on holidays to this location in 5 weeks' time, just before settlement. So I thought I'd have a look at it then. And lucky I did have a bit of a hurdle with like some issues with the bathroom I had to redo. But yeah, other than that, it's been a good turnover. And then I had another goal of, paying that variable off.
So you've got a principal and interest loan that you're making extra repayments to help bring it down to a more conservative level.
Yeah, and I had some of the money locked away in a variable because I wanted to pay extra. So I did that. I paid that off. So it was obviously 24 months before I could change. I paid that off within 10 months, the variable. And yeah, just...
My gosh. And being a single mother and working part-time, what safety measures did you put in place behind this loan and obviously your own financial situation? For example, do you have emergency money? Did you work out, well, okay, if interest rates go up by not 3 times, but say 3%, can I still afford this property? How will it impact my cash flow? What will I do if I'm in between tenants for, say, a month or two? Like, what's, I guess, safety checks did you run before committing to this investment?
Look, obviously, tried to have some savings away. I try to keep additional savings, not that much, but I try to keep $10,000 locked away just in case. And I do have some income that I've locked away in term deposits. I lock it away in term deposits because if I need to take it and lose a little bit of money, I will to break that term deposits, but I don't need it in the long run, like in the long term. I've got that as a safety net. After this getting the property, I freaked out because I was actually only working 3 days a week. So I did apply for a job that I thought was out of my league. I didn't have experience in, but I went for it, got a phone call, got the job, started the next week. And lucky for me, that was an extra 2.5 days a week. So was additionally working, like still am 5.5 days a week. But that job that I applied for was, even though it's 2.5 days a week, pays more than my other job, but my other job has security. This job, yeah, it does have security, but it's a bit more flexible. But that helped give me a bit of security. So I don't actually look at that pay as pay per se to spend. So when I got this second job, which is 3 weeks after I purchased this second property, I didn't look at it going, yay, I've got extra money, go out, spend it. I said to myself, you have gone your whole life without, well, I've gone this long without it, so I'm not going to use it. And it's been the hardest thing ever because I see it and it's a great amount and I want to spend it, but I don't. I said to myself, that's extra pay and let's just save it away for your future. So I put it all towards the home or I put it towards an extra bill. I don't spend it on anything for myself at all. No luxury in it.
How have you built this amazing sense of self-control?
I don't even know. I don't even know.
You must know that, well, I guess from listening to what you're saying, I would suspect it's because you know the benefit of having that, building that passive income through your rental stream,
Yeah.
a rental income stream, from knowing that you're saving time and money off your home loan, the investment property loan. You're probably not even aware of it, but of how all the different things that are supporting you and allowing you to be so disciplined.
Yeah. I think the thing is like, I want my child to have a good life. I
Yeah.
want him to be comfortable. And my parents like would just like my parents were in mediocre roles, just worked hard. And when they purchased their home, when they got married, I know that it was a very small amount, but they paid their house off in 2 years.
Wow.
And they just worked hard. They worked hard and they sacrificed, but I think as long as it makes you happy, like I would never sacrifice these things if it didn't make me happy. But I'm so happy in my life and with what I've got. So I think that's the thing that drives me. Um, and yeah, I want him to have a good future so that he can give his family whatever he chooses for himself a good future. So, that's one of the key things. And one of my parents actually always told me, and it's not for everyone, is that try to have some sort of education behind yourself so that you do have the power and the knowledge to help yourself if you need to. So that's one thing like I learned, being married, I never thought I'd be divorced and in a situation where I'd have to support myself and 100% support my son. So I pay for everything for his private school fees. He attends music, he attends swimming, he attends so much extracurricular activities that I pay for. But that's going to give him power one day to make these same choices for his family, whatever he chooses for himself.
Do you think anyone can learn to turn on or switch on the element of self-discipline and self-control?
I think so. I think that, it's one of these things that if we teach our children and we teach the next generation about smart saving for the future, we can definitely, it's a skill you can teach. My son, who is nearly 10 years old, knows the value of money. Like I'll say to him, do you want to buy that? Or this is how much you can buy. So for example, you can buy that, but that's actually what would be equivalent to 6 Happy Meals. And he'll be like, oh, okay, I understand it in that way. that concept. So, when he gets money, like for example, now he was lucky enough to get money from the Easter Bunny, from a grandparent, which was quite a significant amount. And he opened it and he was like, wow. And I was like, he's like, and I go, what do you want to do with it? Because I think I should save the whole thing. And I said, do you really think you should? I think you should actually save three-quarters of it and enjoy a quarter of it. And he's like, okay. So he put a quarter of that money in his wallet. And I opened up my phone and I said, look, I'll take that cash and I'll give you the money straight away. So I'll transfer it to your bank account. And he will save some money for a home, he said. And he'll save some money for something that he wants. So he wants to get a bigger bike. So he's saving for something that's going to add value. So he doesn't want to buy a bike that's going to be lasting him 1 year. He says he wants to buy a bike that he can have till he's a teenager, that's going to last him. So, you know, he's learning these concepts, and he's actually really good with like even little ways with like the canteen. He won't spend money at all. Like, and he's been at school now for 4 years. He's never spent money at the canteen
Wow.
because he says, you can pack me something good and I'll save that money for something else. And so, learning these key steps, like, even being 9 years old, is teaching him for his life.
For life. The amount of parents that, and this is not to be disrespectful or rude to parents, but I feel like so many parents are told the only way to help their children in life is to give them money, whether it be, giving them a deposit or being guarantor on a loan, or, it's like, no, you're just throwing money at the problem. The best gift you can give a child is education, and including financial education. And even if you don't have financial education yourself, you can still learn financial education with your children. And I think it's so great that your son's saving his money and he's got that mindfulness and that idea and that concept of quality, investing in quality, looking at the longevity of an investment, of a purchase, and the sustainability, but also taking that transition also to go beyond saving and to start include with balance and obviously education around risk, but also investing, because kids have got the value of time, a lot of time. So if we can get kids starting to invest, maybe he gets onto one of the micro investing apps or something like that, or he can start his own, saving property portfolio or something like that. Obviously, maybe using something like a listed investment trust so it's accessible. Getting kids to the other side is really exciting, because things are different and you're in a whole other stratosphere. But with my son, he's exactly the same. And just by talking to him in little bite-sized bits here and there, coming from a place of empowerment and education and inspiration, he'll say to me, if he's earned some extra pocket money over school holidays, he'll say, okay, well, I'll take, half of it, and the other half can you put towards maybe, more shares for my share portfolio. And it's a teeny tiny portfolio, but he's those little seeds are starting to sprout, and it's really empowering. This is a strategy that you are giving your son that is going to benefit him and serve him for the rest of his life. And he can instill in that into his partner. He can instill that into his children if he has children, or his grandchildren, or his friends as well. It's the flow-on effect of financial literacy and education is profound. And we can then afford healthcare, we can afford quality food, we can give more money to charity, we can have more experiences. The betterment of the community is really there. With everything you've done, is there more in store? Like, have you got your sights now on another third property? Are you going to start looking at other investments, or you're like, you know what, I'm really happy with where I'm at. I'm going to tap out for a while. Like, where are you at? Because you've come so far already. I feel like there's even more ahead of you.
Yeah, look, I do want to get another property. That's my next goal, is to get another property. I think, I want to build more passive income, and I'm trying to teach my son that. So when, I actually invested a term deposit for him, and he said, where did my money go from my account? I thought I had more than that. And I said, come with me, I'll sit with you and I'll teach you about this. And he's like, oh, why do you do that? I'm like, because that way you're going to get income. And I said to him, maybe that money that you have when you go to high school is going to pay for the interest will pay for your phone bill. So each month you don't have to pay for that phone bill. I said, that's what we want to work towards. So, I think that just going to try to grow money and make money while the sun shines. And yeah, enjoy it as well. So um,
And how, like being a single mother and with someone who's worked part time, I would imagine your superannuation is probably not at probably where you would want it to be, because obviously you've probably had time out to have your son, and maybe, as you said, you've worked at a part time capacity. Is this investing to help supplement your superannuation, or is this something superannuation something you're going to start including? Because obviously we're all aware of the gender gap, but also more frighteningly, more concerning is the superannuation gap.
definitely, like, a few years ago, I didn't actually even think of super that much until I actually made one of the phone calls with the super company that has a planner, and they called me and they gave me a really great rundown because I was illiterate to super. I didn't want to know about it. I looked at it and I was freaking out. And this person was telling me how you could invest. So I did invest and I made a bit of money actually on it by accident because I didn't know that your money goes into this variable with shares. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the highest risk. And luckily for me, I made a lot of money on it, but I quickly changed it over. And I think was adding a lot of money extra that I could as a bonus. But at the moment now, I'm just trying to see if I can get that second property. One thing I've always had as well is I've always paid for additional life insurance. So I've got 2 life insurance just in case. And they are till the age of 100 because I didn't want, I know some of them, if you look at the little red information, will say to you that it stops at 70. So you're paying amounts and up to 70 years old, you're not paid anymore. So it's kind of like if you're paying for all these years up to 70 and something happens, you don't get any more life insurance. So I made sure there was up to 100 so that it does cover me. So for, anything that does happen.
Personal insurances is so incredibly important, and so many Australians are underinsured. And it's not until you sit down and look at how much you've got and think about, well, hang on, what would I want for my family, or for just simply for myself, if I wasn't able to work due to a medical reason, or even an illness, accident, or even death. It's just so incredibly important, particularly for single parents. It's so important. Now, how are you feeling? Sorry, asking you a question. What is your advice out there for other single parents listening to what you've achieved, which is absolutely incredible? What would your advice be to them, thinking, should I be doing this? What can I do? Like, what would you be saying to them?
I think don't overwhelm yourself by thinking, well, one thing, don't compare yourself. We are all
Yeah.
in different positions. I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I do have a safety net and I can borrow if I need to from someone close to me. And there is no obligation. Like in my family, we have, like, I've lent money when I was younger to my brother to purchase his first home, and he gave it back without interest. So we do have that thing where we can share money, but I know everyone's not in that position. Think small. Even with my bank accounts, like I have a bank account where I try to round up my money. So I don't know if this is a really bizarre thing people in my family think it is, but I like my bank accounts to be a whole number. So if it's like $12, I will transfer that $2 into an account. I transfer $3 into an account.
No, rounding up is very, very popular. That's how a lot of there's lots of investing apps purely built on the principle of rounding up. It's no, you were probably a trendsetter, to be honest.
And I don't know why, if it's an OCD thing, but I've done it my whole entire life. And with that, I set a goal. So for at the moment now, I've got 2 birthday parties that are coming up at the end of the year that I want to pay for family members. And one of them I'm looking at will be a couple of $1,000s because it's a milestone birthday. And I said to myself, I can put a whole pay away. But you know what? In the long run, why don't I try to save? So what I do is every time I've got $4, every time I've got $5, I just transfer it. So far from January, it started around February till now, I've got $300 in there. So that's $300 towards that birthday, which will pay for the cake and someone's head at the party. And I do that all the time. So I think small. Like think of just going to yourself, there's $4 in my bank account. I'm going to round up my account and think of a goal. And at the end, you'll have money for a holiday. So, years ago, I had a client actually. So I work as a case manager with clients that do they might be affected by domestic violence. They might be homeless. And I had a client who was in a position as well, who was a single parent with 2 kids, and she didn't have any savings, didn't have a job. And I said to her, get a jar. And every time you have money in your wallet, throw that money in a jar. So she threw that money in the jar. And then she said that 2 terms later, into term 3, her children said, I want to do music, Mum. And she was like, oh, I can't afford this music. Like, my 2 kids want to enroll themselves in an instrument. And she said, I thought of that jar, Michelle, that you gave me, that the idea. And I went to the jar and I opened it and I had enough money to pay for my children to attend music with that jar of money. And so that was such a small thing to teach her, but it gave her children that opportunity. So I think small, think of a little goal,
Yeah.
and even rounding your money up, because that could be an opportunity of teaching music that can one day get your child to be able to teach maybe on the weekends and earn some money for themselves.
And I think as you've done, like once you start, don't stop. Just keep going, build the momentum, head down, bum up, keep going, focus on the small wins along the way, and that constant feeling of gratitude and pride.
Don't also be scared to stand up at work. So a little thing is I was actually doing additional work and I thought, you know what? I need to ask for some pay for this because I'm doing all this additional work and I'm working my butt off,
Mm.
but I want to be compensated.
Yeah.
So I went and I thought, you know what do I have to lose? So I knocked on the manager's door and he's like, I'm really busy. And I'm like, I'll just take 2 minutes. I'm like, would it be okay if I get a bit of money, extra money for this? Because this is what I'm actually doing. And he was like, yep, no worries, done.
Simple as that.
I actually asked for 3 hours and he said, I'll give you 7 hours. And I was like, okay.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, wow.
that, worked to my favor. And that paid off a really great holiday overseas for a week.
Michelle, you are an absolute inspiration. I mean, you're an incredible role model to your son, and you are now a brilliant role model and source of inspiration for so many other single parents that are feeling overwhelmed, doing it tough, and wondering what to do, where to start, and to how to dream and start making sure that that dream becomes a reality. Your commitment and determination is beyond inspiring. It's incredibly motivating, and I can't help but feel a huge amount of respect and admiration to how you've just, put your nose to the grind and just kept going, and how literally every dollar has counted and helped you with a great sense of pride and satisfaction save up that $350,000. And one thing which we haven't gone on to as much, but it's clearly there, and I'll pick your brain about this in a split second, but is your sense of gratitude. You have such a positive energy and vibe about you. You are so grateful for the hard work that you've put in, and rightfully so, and all the sense of gratitude to what the flow and effect that comes from all this hard work and sacrifice. So with gratitude, and this is what would like to end today on, how important is keeping a positive, appreciative, gracious mindset in a financial journey?
Definitely. I think that, if we have a positive mindset, it's going to help you're going to be able to reach your goals. It's really hard if you look at the negatives. So you need to look at the positives, and look at the opportunities out there because, I think that if you think of the positives, you're just going to reach forward. So, I see everything as a bonus in life, the ability to go to work, to have a car, to reach your goals, everything comes into place with a positive mindset. I'm very lucky, and there has been setbacks, but I think that I've had opportunities that I'm grateful for, and I show my gratitude to that, every day.
How do you show that gratitude? Do you say it out loud, like, wow, thank you? Or do you say in conversation to your son, gosh, aren't we lucky? Or do you say a prayer at night? Or do you wake up in the morning and say something to yourself, or journal? Or how does gratitude?
Yeah, I think I have a faith in I have a faith in my religion, and in my family we all have different faiths. I got a family member who is got a different faith, and we're all just thankful for what we've got. And I think I live a life I'm thankful for the food we have, and I show that appreciation by not wasting. I show my appreciation by trying to use everything I've got in my life. Um, and living a life of like little things of like not, recycling and not wasting 100%. I try to live a life of like 90% no wastage of food. And so in different ways in my life, I try to live in that way. I try to buy toys that can be recycled and given to someone else. So I think they're the different ways in life that I like to show my appreciation for what I've got and what the world has given me.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. I am incredibly grateful myself for you taking the time to be able to share your inspiration and motivation, and of course, the hard work, dedication, and commitment that has gone into you building on your own sense of financial freedom and independence as a single mother working part time in a challenging, dynamic, and at times overwhelming world. So, thank you so much. Your flow on effect is incredibly powerful. And I'm sure I will receive lots of DMs from single parents listening to this going, this is now my sign that I'm going to start saving. And do exactly as you say. Don't compare yourself. Start small. Keep it very simple. Little goals along the way. Even little rounding up, having a jar of coins and notes when you can. All the little things really do add up. And remember, just like Michelle, just head down, bum up, and keep going. Build on that momentum and don't stop. And make sure you realize how far you have come in such a short period of time. And quite often, it's the internal work that's far more powerful and beneficial than the actual numbers at the end of the day. The personal growth is powerful, and that will then make sure that you continue on going from strength to strength. And I say that myself from going through my own experience when I was a single mother. Thank you everyone for listening. This is Sugar Mama's Fireplay. Please make sure you are following and leave me a rating and review.